On February 22nd, 2017, an international team of astronomers announced the discovery of a solar system outside our own. Since then, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about it. If you haven't heard or don't know exactly what's happened, I'll do my best to explain it in this video. The planets were first detected by ground-based telescopes, and the team of astronomers thought, maybe there's more to this. They recruited the Spitzer Space Telescope, which observed the system for 500 hours straight. It confirmed the first couple planets seen by the ground-based telescope, and then it found the other 5. The system is called TRAPPIST-1, and it's located in the constellation Aquarius. So what's the big deal? After all, Kepler and K2 combined have confirmed the discovery of approximately 2,500 exoplanets as of February 23rd, and that number keeps rising. So what's so special about these 7 exoplanets we haven't heard of until a couple days ago? Let's talk about distance for a second. All 7 of these planets are closer to their star than Mercury is to our sun. You might think that sounds pretty hostile, and you'd be right if the star was the same temperature as our sun. However, it turns out that the host of the TRAPPIST-1 solar system is an extremely cool dwarf star. The current measurements put 3 of these planets in the habitable zone, meaning that liquid water may be present. Essentially, we have a Goldilocks scenario. A couple planets are too hot, a couple are too cold, and 3 may be just right. This is what has got people most excited. Life as we know it needs water, so if we find that, the chances of finding life go up as well. Also, it's the closest system to the Earth that's been discovered so far. Now, one thing I noticed a couple people saying are things like, yay, we're gonna discover life before I die, or soon we're gonna know if there's life on those planets. Well, not so fast. The distance between Earth and the TRAPPIST solar system is 40 light years. I'm wondering if some people think that's a fancy term to say we can get there in about 40 years. It's not like beer. Light beer equals less calories, but light years doesn't mean less years. It's not a measure of time, but a measure of the distance light travels in a year, which is about 9,460,000,000,000 kilometers. So multiply that by 40 and you get 378,195,840,000,000 kilometers. But let's put that into perspective. That's from the Earth to the Sun and back 1,264,000 times, or from the Sun to Pluto and back about 32,000 times. The trip would be 40 years if we could travel at the speed of light, but unfortunately we're nowhere close. Juno is the fastest man-made spacecraft, and it accelerated to 265,000 kilometers an hour thanks to Jupiter's gravity. That's only 0.0245% the speed of light, and it would take it about 163,000 years to make it to TRAPPIST. Basically a long time. Even if we launch right now, we might not be around by the time it gets there. Now, this isn't relevant, but I was always the guy that said, I'll never use math much outside of school. Well, look at me now. So what can we learn at the moment? It appears the next step for astronomers is to begin analyzing the atmospheres of the planets in hopes of detecting methane, oxygen, ozone, or any other indicators of life. Hubble has already begun looking at 4 of them, 3 of which include the ones in the habitable zone, and it's searching for hydrogen-dominated atmospheres. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope is set to launch next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if its first mission is to set its sights on TRAPPIST. Now, this is where the video was going to end. It was all I had written in my script, and it just so happened to be the length of the background song. But since this video is relatively late, considering the TRAPPIST discovery was over a month ago, there have been more articles and reports published recently. There was one thing I had wondered about when I first started making this video. Even though the star is relatively cool, wouldn't radiation still be an issue since the planets are so close? And it turns out that it likely would be a problem. Research published in Astronomy and Astrophysics says that the star emits a considerable amount of X-ray radiation. Given enough time, 1 to 3 billion years, it is highly likely that the 2 closest planets would have their atmospheres destroyed from these X-rays. The farther planets would be able to cling to their precious atmospheres for longer, an estimated 5 to 22 billion years. So if the system is relatively young, it's possible that any liquid water may be protected by their atmospheres. But again, we know very little for certain, which also means that any images you've seen other than these pixels are no more than artist interpretations.